Hello Year 5 and welcome to your next maths lesson. Now the first thing we're going to do is warm your brains up a little bit, and then we're going to continue on with our learning we have been looking at in the last few days, looking at multiplying 2 digits by 2 digits. Now I know it has got a little bit confusing because I know you guys are not used to using the base 10 and the counters. So please use any methods that you know how to help you, and go back and watch some of the other videos if you need the additional support. So let's wake your brains up a little bit this morning. So I'd like to have a go at these questions. If you look very closely, number 1, number 2 have an additional question that's attached to them. And for questions 3 and 4, you might need to think about using an area model, so using your grid method here to be able to help you. So pause the video and have a go. Okay, so 3 times 8, easy peasy, 24. If we're doing 30 times 8, we've got to make that 10 times bigger, so that must be 240. 6 times 7, come on guys, 42. Now here it's a 6 times something because it's 420. Now I know that 420 is 10 times bigger than 42, so I know that's got to be multiplied by 70 rather than 7. Now for 22 multiplied by 23, okay, let's split this up using our grid method, okay, so we can fill out our missing numbers. So 10 times 20 is 200, 2 times 10 is 20, 20 times 3 is 60, and 2 times 3 is 6. All we need to do is add those numbers together and it gives us 286. Same method applies for the next one. Now, 22 times 14, we could use grid method again because we've looked at grid method already. But I think I can find a link between my questions that we looked at last week. Now here I multiplied 22 by 13, and that gave me the answer 286. Here I'm multiplying 22 by 14. So here I just need one more lot of 22. So all I need to do is add 22 on to my original answer, which gives me 308. Well done if you got those all correct, because I know that you've struggled a little bit with maths this week, so well done for giving it a go. So let's move on and recap, but use our skills to be able to help us with these questions. So here we have 23 multiplied by 31. Now you can see here that I'm going to use grid method to support me with this question. So let's partition our numbers. We have 20 and 3, 30 and 1. All we need to do is then multiply those numbers together. So 2 times 3 is 6, but we've got it to be 100 times bigger, so 600. 30 times 3 is 90. 1 times 20, 20. 1 times 3, it's 3. We know that all we need to do to work that answer out is to add the numbers together. So here's what my written calculation would look like. If I add all of those numbers together, it's going to give me the answer 713. Now, let's have a look at this using our long multiplications. This is what some of you probably are itching to do because the counters and the base 10 value things are confusing you. So let's have a look at using this with our long multiplication. So here you can see I have my sum. Okay, I'm going to use my grid method on the other side to help understand how both examples give me the same answer, but the grid method breaks it down into a smaller step. So this is so that you can visualize it in your head, because this is technically what you do in your head every time you do long multiplication. Just here you now actually get to see what that looks like written out. So let's start with our first sum of 1 times 3. We know that 1 times 3, if we look at it here, 1 times 3 was 3. So we can write 3 down in our box. Our next sum that we're going to do is going to be 1 times 2. Now this isn't 1 times 2 because it's in our tens column. So this is 1 times 20. So if I look over here, 1 times 20 gave me 20. Therefore, 2 lots of 10, okay, is going to give me 20. So I can put my 2 there because I know that 2 lots of 10 is going to give me 20. Now I'm going to move on and do my next column. So here I'm going to be looking at doing 30 multiplied by 3. Now, because I'm multiplying my tens and my ones, I know my answer is going to give me an answer within my tens or possibly even my hundreds. But I know the answer is not going to be 9. I know it's not going to give me a ones value. So I need to use my place value, okay? So I need to remember to include my place value in that column there before I write my answer down. Because we no longer have a value that's going to fit into our ones column, so we need to block it out with our place value. Then our next one we're going to do here is going to be 2 times 3. This isn't 2 times 3 because this is looking at the tens column. So this is 20 multiplied by 30. If I have a look here on my grid here, I can see that's 600. And obviously I can't fit 600 into this box, but I know that 6 lots of 100 gives me 600. So all I need to do is write the 6 value there, and that stands for 600. Now all I need to do to those two numbers is now add them together. Okay, so 3 add 0 is 0. 9 add the 2 obviously gives me 11, so I have to carry my tens over into my hundreds, and then I need to remember to add that 100 to my 6, which gives me 713. So you can see we get the exact same answer, but your thought process that we did to try and work out our long multiplication is all written here. This is all the work that you effectively always do inside your head. The only difference is now that you're seeing how that looks like on paper. So let's have a look at this question here. So here we have 23 multiplied by 31. Okay. So here we have 23 because we know that here we're going to be multiplying 1 times 23. So the sum for this one here is 23 multiplied by 1. So if we then look at the next sum here, we have 690. Now that is as a result of this sum here, which is 23 multiplied by 30. Now it's not 23 multiplied by 3 because that 3 is in my tens value, which means that's 3 lots of 10. So 23 multiplied by 30. So that answer here is to that calculation, and this answer here is to that calculation. All we then need to do is then add them together. So that's the same as adding those two separate sums. And I know some of you have been using the addition parts of our long multiplication to be able to help you as well, and that's fine. But here it shows you how you break that down, okay? So 23 multiplied by 31 is the same as working out those two separate sums and then adding them together, okay? So let's consider that for this question. So here we have 41 multiplied by 26, okay? What you like to do is pause the video and have a think. How are we going to work this sum out? Okay, so we know we've got to start with our ones column. Okay, we know we're going to be using our ones. So we're going to look at this first sum. So we're multiplying by 6, and we're going to be multiplying 41. So our sum's going to be 41 multiplied by 6. So we do 1 multiplied by 6, we know that's going to give us 6. 4 multiplied by 6, we know it's not 4 multiplied by 6 because it's in the 10, so it's 14 multiplied by 6. We know that's going to give us the answer 24. Now obviously I have to put the 4 into my tens column, but I can't have 20 lots of tens, but I know that 20 lots of tens is 200, so I'm going to exchange that to the other column. Now we need to be moving on to our next sum, okay, but we need to remember that with this sum here, we're multiplying it by 0. There's no additional answers there, so we need to make sure that goes down to our 2. And now that leads us on to the next part of our sum. So we're now going to be multiplying 41 by 20. Okay, now because we know we're multiplying by our tens column, we're not going to have a value for our ones column, so we need to remember to put our placeholder in there. So here we're going to look at what's 20 times 1. We know that 20 times 1 is 20. So we know that if we had 2 lots of tens, that's going to give us 20. So we can write our 2 in our tens column. Then we're going to be looking at multiplying 20 by 40. Okay, and we know that 20 multiplied by 40 is going to give us 800. Okay, so we can write our 8 down there. Now, just like it said on the slide before, all we're going to do now is add the answers to these two sums. So we need to just add these numbers together. So we have 6 ones, we have 8 tens. Now here we have 8 and 2, and now we're going to have 10 lots of 100. Now I know that I can't have 10 lots of 100, so there's got to be 0, which means I have to exchange them, which means I have an additional 1,000, okay? Which means that 41 multiplied by 26 is 1,066. Okay, so very simple, just working out each section and then adding them together. Now Tiny here has said that 32 multiplied by 46 is 320. Do you think you can pause the video? Where do you think Tiny might have gone wrong? Okay, so well done for those eagle-eyed people out there if you've noticed. Well, actually here, the sum that he's done is 32 multiplied by 6 for the first part. But here, he's done what looks like 32 multiplied by 4. And you might be thinking, well, okay, 32 multiplied by 4 is 128. But why is that wrong? Well, we know if we look at our sum here, we've multiplied by 40. Which means that we didn't have any values in our ones column because surely any of those answers multiplied by 10 will move from the tens into the hundreds. So unfortunately, he's missed out on his 0. So he's actually multiplied by 40, which means if we've multiplied 32 by 40, we needed our place value in there. So we actually need to move our digits across to add in our place value because we don't have any ones values. So now we can add this up correctly. So we have our ones. We know that 2 add 0 isn't 0, it's actually going to give us 2. We know that 9 add 8 is actually going to give us 17. So we have 7 ones. We're going to have to exchange that 10 over into our hundreds. We have our 10 lots of 100. So we add our 7 in here. And we can see here that 1 add 2 is 3, but we need to remember to add our additional 100. So 300 and 100 is 400. Now we have this extra digit in the thousands column, so we can't forget about that. So here we'd have 0 plus 1,000 is going to give us 1,000. Therefore, the answer is actually 1,472. Okay, so here it's important to remember to include your place value. I'd like to pause the video and like to have a go at doing questions 1 to 4 on your worksheet, please. Okay, so Tommy wants to find the area of the blue part of the rectangle. So this is going to be testing your knowledge of our area work that we looked at just before Christmas. Now, we know that the area, okay, is the inside volume of a closed 2D shape. So here we can see we have 35 and 16, but here we have some additional white parts in between. Now our answer cannot include those white parts because we just want to find out the area of the blue part. So first of all, let's just find out the area of the rectangle altogether. Okay, so we're going to pretend that those white squares don't exist. So the first that we're going to look at is then 35 multiplied by 16. So that's going to be these two here. This is our length and our width. So this is going to give us the area for the entire blue shape. Okay, so let's first of all start off with our first sum, which is going to be 35 multiplied by 6. That's going to be this sum here. Okay, we know that 6 times 5 is 30. Obviously, we cannot carry 3 lots of 10s into our 1s. So we're going to exchange those into our 10s. We don't have any 1s values, so we'll leave that as a 0. Then we're going to do 6 multiplied by 30. Now, I know that 6 multiplied by 30, I'm going to have to add that additional 3 on as well. So I know my answer is going to give me 18 plus that 3, which gives us 21. Therefore, 210 is the answer to 35 multiplied by 6. So now we're going to move on to the next part of our sum, which is going to be 35 multiplied by 10. Now, remembering from Tiny's mistake beforehand, we're not going to have any values in our 1s column, so we need to remember to include our place value. So now we can start working out. So what is 10 times 5? Well, I know that 10 times 5 is 50, therefore I have 5 lots of 10s. Here I'm then going to multiply 10 by 30, okay? I know that 10 multiplied by 30 is going to give me 300, therefore I need my 3's value in my hundreds column. All I need to do now is add these together, and that gives me my answer 560. So 560 is going to be the area of the entire blue shape. But now I need to work out what the area of the white squares are, white triangles are, because I know I'm going to need to take those away. Now, luckily for us, both of those rectangles have the same measurements, okay? So all we need to do is 12 multiplied by 7 is 84. So that gives me the area of one of them. But I have 2, so I need to double that, okay? And that gives me 168. So all I need to do now is I need to take that away from my original area, and that's going to tell me what that blue shape is without those white squares in. So I can do 560, take away or subtract 168, gives me 392. Now remember, because we're looking at area, it has to be centimetres squared, okay? So you need to sometimes think that there are different steps in those questions, because we had to do 3 different things there, with working out the area to start off with, then we had to work out the area of the 2 rectangles in between, and then we had to do our takeaway sum. So there were 3 steps to that problem. So what I'd like to do now is have a go at doing the rest of the questions of 5 and 6 on your worksheet. You have your additional Classroom Secrets work to have a go at as well, and as always, you know to pick one or the other. If you know that you are supposed to be doing an additional challenge question, you know who you are, please have a go at one of the extension questions that's been sent home to you. And I look forward to have a look at your work when I receive it on Wednesday to give you a little bit of feedback that might help you with your work on Thursday and Friday. Okay, good luck, Year 5.